Hello everyone, I hope you are all having a wonderful day. I can't wait to get into this video. This video is all about makeup statistics. I really have wanted this year to track my makeup usage, especially since I'm not doing as many project pans. I just have my one major project pan going, and so I've been trying to just let myself reach for the makeup that I want to reach for. So I figured this year would be the perfect year to track not all my categories, but specifically categories like all my eyeshadows and blushes to see what's actually getting used, what gets rotated into my shop, my stash, and what do I just tend to forget about. It will help me with future declutters. It will help me remember to use certain items that I know I like, and it will perhaps help me curb spending. So this video, I'm gonna share all my makeup usage for the first quarter of the year. I am filming this at the end of March, so it hasn't been quite 3 months, but I figure it's close enough. I'm ready to do this video now. I will share how many empties versus purchased, kind of like if I was still doing a beauty bank, how would I be doing? Any new pans in my collection, and then of course all the statistics that I mentioned previously. So before I get started, I'm very interested to try this tea. I literally just put some milk in it and I haven't tasted it yet. So this is a new chai, to me, a new chai from David's Tea, and this is their Saigon chai, which I was like, what makes a chai Saigon chai? And I guess it's the type of cinnamon that they put in there, and I can smell the cinnamon. It is very, very cinnamony. Whew, I think I might have oversteeped it a little bit, but with chai, that's okay. It just makes it more spicy. I think I like it. Okay, so let's do makeup statistics first, starting with all of my single eyeshadows. So when I say single eyeshadows, I'm including like the magnetic ones that I can arrange into pans, all my potted cream eyeshadows, eyeshadow sticks, basically anything that isn't in an eyeshadow palette. I am counting in my singles category. So I'm not only counting which ones that I'm actually reaching for, and I'm also counting like how many times I reach for them. And I want this to be like as organic as possible in terms of with all these categories. I'm not giving myself the goal of must use everything, because that would completely skew this whole project. The whole point of it is to see what I actually want to use, not just like my fantasy self makeup stuff that I just collect but don't actually use. So starting with the single eyeshadow stash, I have 185 that I would put into that category. In the past 3 months, I used 36 of those. So that's only about 19%, which is less than I would like. I would prefer that to be up at like 25%. So when I first saw that, I was like, okay, yikes, I really need to up my single eyeshadow usage, especially since I love them so much. But then I thought more about it and I realized that I do tend to go in like phases with my makeup. I want to use powders, then I want to use creams, then I want to use my palettes, then sometimes I just want to use my cream eyeshadows. So right now I'm obviously in like a palette, wanting to use all my palettes phase. I'm still reaching for singles, just not as often. So, you know, looking at that number, I'm definitely gonna keep that in mind, but at the same time, I still wanna keep it organic. I'm not gonna force myself to reach for things that I don't necessarily want to reach for, but we'll see how in the second quarter, if it changes at all. As far as those that I reached for the most, obviously the ones I reach for the most were ones I'm project panning. So right now I'm working on this little mini Laura Mercier caviar stick. I reached for this over 20 times, but as far as things that I'm not project panning, the single that I reached for the most was in my pink eyeshadow palette here, and that would be this shade. This is Peace from Sydney Grace, and I reached for that twice in the past 3 months, which is really sad to say because I love that shade so much, but considering how much eyeshadow I have, it was a thing that I reached for that twice in the past 3 months. Okay, so now let's talk about eyeshadow palettes. So I have 44 eyeshadow palettes. Of those, I used 16. So that's about 36%, which that is good for me for the first 3 months of the year. I'm happy with that. As for which ones I use the most, I definitely used the most the ones that I was testing, new ones into my collection. The one that I use the most, even of those, would be the Lorac Noir palette. I used this, how many times? I gotta check back in my notes. Look at my little tally marks here. 6 times for the Lorac Noir palette in the past 3 months. Oh, so beautiful. But as for palettes that I was not testing and I just reached for organically, I have a tie for 3 times each. That would be Colourpop, Going Coconuts. It's a long time favorite of mine. And then the Tartelette in Bloom palette, which is one of the most neglected. But when I pulled it out in the past month, I kept it out and I kept using it. 3 times, which may not seem like a lot, but you guys, I do have a lot of makeup. So Those tied for first place in terms of makeup usage for the past 3 months. Okay, let's talk about blushes and blush palettes. I put them all in one category. I have 60 of those. That's so many. But you know what? I used 31 of them. That is about 51%. That is very good. I do rotate through my collection every single month, and I love blush. If I'm going to be wearing makeup, which I do most days, I will be wearing blush. It's not one of those categories I skip, which I can sometimes skip eyeshadow, not blush. So of those that I wasn't testing, Tower 28 in the shade Magic Hour was the one that I used the most at 3 times. But the ones that I used the most overall were of course the ones that I'm project panning. I've used those about 20 uses each. So overall for statistics, I'm feeling pretty good, especially about the blushes, and I'm feeling good so far about the eyeshadow palettes, kinda about the eyeshadow singles, but a lot of those are very special shades, more colorful shades, shades that I just don't reach for every day. So I can see why at the moment I'm not, haven't reached for very many of them. But like I said, we'll see how that progresses into the second quarter of the year. Let's talk about new pans in my collection. So this first one will be a spoiler for my project pan that's coming up. So I have hit pan, nice pan too, in my Makeup by Mario bronzer. This just happened, and yet the pan is continuing to expand. Very, very proud of having a pan in a bronzer. Very, very exciting for me. And then also in the past quarter, I hit pan on my Phytosurgence highlighter in the shade Fresh Fog. These are 2 really, really exciting pans for me, and both of these were products in my project pan. In the first quarter, I had 9 makeup empties, which I will have an empties video coming soon, in which I will go over all the empties. But for now, the number is 9, which means I was averaging about 3 makeup empties per month, which is pretty good, I think. I would like to do a little bit more than that, but when it comes to using up makeup, it goes slowly. Now for the interesting part about the beauty bank. So I'm not doing a beauty bank this year. This year, I really wanted to give myself the freedom to purchase items to review on my channel. Even though I am just a small hobby channel, I do want to grow my channel, and I find that I get the most views, honestly, when I'm doing something like actually reviewing a specific product. So I wanted to give myself the freedom to not feel bad to purchase something for a video. So I did not do a beauty bank this year, but out of curiosity, I have been keeping track out of how much I've used up versus purchased. So purchasing. And this is just items that I purchased, not items that were gifted to me. I have received a lot of makeup gifts so far this year. But as for purchasing, I myself have purchased 30 items. When I counted that up, I was honestly a bit horrified. That is a lot of makeup items. Some of those were like repurchases, like I finished off my eyebrow pencil, I needed a new one. I finished my eyeshadow primer, I needed a new one. So not all of it was just like adding to my large blush collection, for instance. But 30 items is still quite a bit. So the way that I used to do my beauty bank was I would basically give myself a point for whatever I used up, and take away a point for anything that I purchased. I think last year I started off with 35 points. If I was going by those same rules, I would have 14 points left for the year. So, interesting to note those numbers. I also do want to note that I did do a lot of decluttering in the past few months, and I probably will be continuing to do that. I'm really starting to hone in on what I like, and I haven't really kept track of how many things I've gotten out of my collection, but it was quite a few, so I don't really feel like my actual numbers have gone up that much. And when I say decluttering, usually the stuff I give away, like I do give away to people, and it's not old. If it's so old that I don't want to give it to anyone, okay, then it will actually go in the garbage, but usually I can find someone to give stuff to. I found this a very interesting exercise. I hope that you did as well. I only hope that I can keep up with all of the tallying and stuff that I have. Sometimes when I start something like this, I'm really good for like the first part of the year, and then by September I've given up. So I'm hoping I can keep up with this throughout the year so I can continue to have updates. Have you tried to do a project like this? If so, I would be very interested to hear in your results and how much makeup you actually reached for. I should probably say too that these numbers, as far as how many times I've used things, I tried to remember to mark things down, but I know there have been days where I have not remember to mark things down. So these numbers should be pretty close anyway to the amount of makeup that I was using. Thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. I will see you again very soon in the next one. Bye guys.